The Ginetta Junior Championship has 3 races at Snetterton this weekend on the full 300 layout, and race 1 is coming up in a few minutes' time. The cars making their way to the grid, and it is going to be based on the driver's best qualifying time from this morning, which puts Aflie Slater, there he is, on to pole position. He has yet to score a win in the championship, but this could be it. Despite the fact it's a busy grid behind, he has been the man to beat in qualifying, where so much of it is down to track positioning and whether you get a tow or not. But Aflie Slater was quickest this morning on a fairly damp circuit. So now it's much drier, the road should be quicker, and Aflie Slater on pole position with Chase Fernandez lining up with him at the front. It's a 1-by-1 staggered grid, so it stretches all the way back down to the exit of the last corner. And with just the Silverstone National Circuit, Donington Grand Prix and Brands Hatch to go after this weekend, we're getting to the business end of the championship now. Last time out they were at Anglesey, they had 4 races there, where the wins were split 3-1, Ethan Jeff Hall and Marcus Saeter. But Chase Fernandez, Henry Jocelyn and Isaac Phelps have also been race winners over the course of the season. And you've got to feel a bit for poor old Charlie Hart, who had 5 second places on the bounce at the start of the year and has still not, surprisingly, given his pace, been able to take a maiden win. It could well be this weekend, although for this race he starts 5th on the grid. Green flag drops. That means that everybody now sets off on their final installation lap. Chance to get some warmth into the Pirelli rubber on which they run these days, and then they'll form back up on the grid and we'll be ready for 20 minutes of racing rather than a set number of laps. It is time, so flag goes out the first time the leader crosses the line at the end of 20 minutes of competition. There at the very back, Nickolas Ellis, who gets away now in the Elite Motorsport car. And at the other end of the grid, Aflie Slater, whose father used to race Porsches with great success. His brother, Freddie Slater, one of the real stars of Formula 4 last year internationally. Aflie Slater then on pole position, and Oldham's Chase Fernandez, who's had a win this year, lines up at the front ahead of 5 times a race winner, the championship leader, Ethan Jeff Hall. And then Henry Jocelyn, 2nd in the championship and a triple winner. He's 4th on the grid ahead of Charlie Hart, 3rd in the title race, and double winner Marcus Saeter, he's 6th. Then you've got Colin Cronin, the next in the Cronin dynasty, younger brother of multiple British Rally champion Keith, and then Torin Byrne lines up alongside. Tom Ingram Hill is on the 5th row of the grid alongside Jude Peters. Then you've got Ethan Carney and Archie Clark, the grandson of Roger Clark, the great rally driver. 13th on the grid, Alfie Davis. Then the Australian driver, Ruben Dan. Isaac Phelps, double winner, 5th in the championship, but a long way back, starting 15th alongside Harry Moss and ahead of James Ellis and Felix Livesey next. Then Jack Robinson and Holly Mile ahead of Mallory Mabunda and James Shotton, with Itisio Mabunda and Nickolas Ellis to round out the grid. 24 of them then for the still strong Ginetta Junior Championship that always delivers good racing and always has done so around the Snetterton lap. Even though it's a long lap, the nature of it means, especially this infield section with a left-hander going into a right and then to a left and then to a right, that overtaking is possible. Colin Cronin here for Fox Motorsport. His brother, one of his brothers, racing in the Porsche Sprint Challenge, but it is the elder of the dynasty, Keith, who's made his name in rallying and is going for a 5th British Rally Championship title this year. It's been a tough start to the season for him. And young Colin, the next in the list. Archie Clark, whose father is Ollie, rally star himself, grandfather, the late Roger Clark, and turning to circuit racing, although in fairness, his grandfather used to be fairly handy on circuits as well, would occasionally race in saloon races like the European Touring Car Championship round at Silverstone and the circuit race part of the Tour of Britain he was very quick in. But Archie Clark making his way to the grid in number 43, one of the many from the Elite Motorsport stable, Eddie Ives' team that's got a single-seater pedigree these days and won both races in the GT4 European Series at Spa a few weekends ago. Right, down towards turn 12 they come. They'll then slot into place on the grid. And there at the very front of it is Aflie Slater. 1 or 2 drivers given a grid drop after behavioural warning points were racked up. One of them, Nickolas Ellis, he's at the back because he's got a 10-place grid drop for gaining behavioural warning points. And the other one was Isaac Phelps. That's why he's only 15th. He got a 5-place grid drop for BWPs, totted up over the previous races of the season. So the Ginetta Juniors get 1 race today. They get 2 tomorrow. Weather conditions on the improving side here. It was rather wet and cold this morning. It's still cold, but it's at least dry now, and the sun is breaking through into position slots. Aflie Slater And then he's got to wait and wait and wait. When the orange car of Nickolas Ellis forms up at the very back, we will be good to go racing then. 20 minutes rather than a set number of laps. In qualifying, they were doing 2:20s, high 2-minute 20s as a lap time. Let's see how much quicker they can be come racing. They look towards the lighting gantry. In a moment, the lights will blink red once we've had that green flag at the back to say that everybody is where they should be. And then we'll get set for the first of 3 races. This is round 14 of the championship. The grid is formed, the 5-second board has been shown. Now the lights go red. Lights out, blast off, a good getaway made by Aflie Slater then from pole position as the cars accelerate up towards Riches for the first time. Straight away he switches sides then to try to get the racing line down towards turn 1, and going after him Chase Fernandez from the outside of the front row, and then third as they funnel through Riches for the first time is Ethan Jeff Hall. So it's grid order within the top 3 as the cars now accelerate up towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time, and Slater is under attack. Look, Fernandez almost hidden behind him. Lots of Pirelli tyre squeal as they wriggle their way through the hairpin on the inside line. Number 50 there, Charlie Hart goes 4th. And here, on board with Archie Clark, looking to gain ground as they drop down towards turn 3. 1 or 2 being really courageous with 2 wheels on the dirt on the inside there. They sweep through the fast left and then speed building down towards Angostini, that little kink in the road as they come down towards the corner. But Aflie Slater trying to convert the pole position that he earned this morning into not only the race lead, but ultimately into a race win. Looking very strong indeed. Relative newcomer to Ginetta Junior Racing, which continues to be a real discovery area for stars of the future. Up through Hamilton, then towards Oggies for the first time. Round the outside, Charlie Hart there. Gun goes a little bit wide, bouncing wide, and lets Marcus Saeter come back up the inside of him. But that's the outside line for the next corner. So Marcus Saeter has to try to switch sides. Then also in the queue, you've got Jude Peters, the former sim racer, number 70. Another challenge made here, coming onto the back straight for the first time, onto Bentley Straight. Through the S's for the first time. So Slater, Fernandez, Jeff Hall, the top 3 out of grid order. And then you've got Charlie Hart running 5th on the back of Henry Jocelyn, but it's one long, long line. And around here, the nature of the circuit, plus 2 fast straights where you can slipstream, means there should be quite a bit of shuffling. 31, which is Felix Libsey battling with Isaac Phelps, number 35 there. Together, those two both ought to be making progress. Felix Libsey for MDD Racing, and behind him Isaac Phelps for Elite Motorsport. Almost every corner there is tyre squeal as Jude Peters drops down towards turn 12, after which sideways comes Aflie Slater, being pushed along almost by Chase Fernandez. Then right with them is the car of Ethan Jeff Hall, heading up towards the timing line. The former karting champion, Ethan Jeff Hall, goes through, and very much the man in form at the moment after taking 3 wins out of 4 at Anglesey at the Ginetta Festival a few weeks back. Down through Riches. Right now, Slater leading the pack, but not getting away. It's 3 for the race lead as Ethan Jeff Hall now has a go at Fernandez, who goes to the inside line of Slater up towards the hairpin, and through he goes. Chase Fernandez takes the lead. Ethan Jeff Hall goes 2nd, and then that puts Aflie Slater down to 3rd place. So having led the opening lap, all of a sudden, life has rather changed. Next up is Henry Jocelyn, whose father used to race Mini 7s and Formula V quite a few years ago, coming down towards turn 3 now, and in the middle of the field there, look, 43 looking to make progress. Archie Clark's Elite Motorsport Cowboy blue on black livery up the inside line, and leans just about on the traffic now. He's on the back, you can see, of the E3 Sport car. That's Jude Peters just up the road for Jim Edwards Jr.'s team. And Clark could barely get any closer to the outside line, also looking to gain ground as they turn their way through the corner of others, but that in turn puts you on the wrong line for the exit of the corner, and you get run out wide accordingly. The run now up towards the left of Hamilton, back on board with Clark, fights the car, rides up the curve, of which you've got to be careful because track limit warnings will come and penalties might come late race if you continue to transgress. A little bit bullish up the inside was Alfie Davis there, 74, and the one that's lost out most is Tom Ingram Hill, who is dropping back and back and back through the pack. Tom Ingram Hill, whose father used to race in the Ferrari Challenge a couple of decades ago, and another driver that's come out of karting. But Tom Ingram Hill struggling at the moment to make progress as the leader then, Chase Fernandez, heads down towards the S's, and he's being pursued vigorously right now by 25 of Ethan Jeff Hall then. Further back, another effort being made. 18 is Torin Byrne, whose dad, Sean, very successful Caterham racer, turned Ginetta GT4 racer. Bit of contact there, and number 31 gets roughed up, Felix Livesey, and that was Tom Ingram Hill coming through on the inside. Found half a gap at least and went for it. Race leaders coming to Coram Curve. And as they do so, Chase Fernandez, then the driver from Oldham in the R Racing entry, leads the way. So this is the end of lap number 2. It was Slater that led at the end of lap 1, and he's now been shuffled back into 3rd spot. Over the line comes Chase Fernandez, and this is where Ethan Jeff Hall can use the slipstream, get the toe, and try to make his move on the inside, maybe going down towards Riches. The teams on the pit wall urging on the drivers. Chase Fernandez, Ethan Jeff Hall, 0.189 of a second between them. And Ethan Jeff Hall doesn't make his move. He stays in the wheel tracks then as they go now very wide in the case of Ethan Jeff Hall out of Riches up towards the right-hander of Wilson. Top 3 absolutely is one. In 4th place it is Henry Jocelyn, 5th is Marcus Saeter, and then in 6th Charlie Hart. And a great battle pack here with whoops, a spinner in the background, everybody locking up coming into the corner. 28 on the outside line there in danger of losing ground. That is Harry Moss, survives it. Back on board with the car in the hands of Archie Clark, I should say, as they come down now into turn 3. So Clark is attacking and he's under attack as well. Back on board now. Makes a move on the inside, gains the place. And Clark brakes as late as he dares, going down towards Agostini. Makes his move on the inside line, goes through. But this great little battle that's raging on for, what, 10th place, 9th and 10th places and back is rather delaying all the drivers involved. So they're not being able to live with that leading line. As to the outside line there is Tom Ingram Hill, number 5. That's got him on the inside line for the next corner. One with damage. Look, the white car there. That's number 18, is it not? Yes, it is. So there is Torin Byrne. And whoops, all over the grass goes Jude Peters. Possibly with a bit of help, demolishes the corner marker, but should be able to rejoin. But Torin Byrne is the one that's in jeopardy now, because that front bodywork was looking decidedly loose when we had the cars going through the infield, and if the air gets under it, then he might be in real strife if the bodywork opens up and his visibility is diminished, and possibly even more damage to the car occurs. Let's see how he fares as the leading group goes out of bomb hole now. Torin Byrne had gained ground at the end of the previous lap. Now he's got that damage, it might all change. The race leader, Chase Fernandez, then, keeping at bay Ethan Jeff Hall, who, despite having been able to attack on the run to turn 1 and at the end of the Bentley Straight, has not been able to find a way through into the race lead. Big dive for 3rd, and contact is made as up the inside clatters Henry Jocelyn, and that was against the pole position driver, Alfie Slater, and it has left Henry Jocelyn sitting on the grass waiting now for a gap in the traffic. He just sets off anyway and causes yet another impact, and that was not that intelligent, I'm afraid to say, because he could see the traffic coming and just drove straight into the cars that were coming out of the last corner. So that, for Henry Jocelyn, is effectively the end of the race, but he probably will have a case to answer there, because for just rejoining when there was absolutely no way he was going to get into the traffic was not that wise, and it's left not only him out of the race with damage, but others with some damage as well, including number 5 there, Tom Ingram Hill, coming out of turn 1, being forced out wide and dropping another bit of ground. So out of all of that, yet more shuffling, and it's brought Charlie Hart up to 4th, Marcus Saeter for 5th, and Colin Cronin now into 6th place. And there, the 2 race leaders together. That, facing the wrong way, is Tom Ingram Hill. That's up at the Wilson hairpin. So he's going to try to rejoin, and he does. Gap in traffic, rejoins. Big, big gap. But it's going to put him down to last place, I rather fear, as there, number 90, Chase Fernandez leads from Ethan Jeff Hall. And there is a driving standards flag being offered up at the end of the lap to Nickolas Ellis, who has made good progress from last on the grid to 16th, and also for 23 Holly Mile. Now there are the 2 race leaders getting away inexorably now, it seems, from Alfie Slater, who started on pole position, but is certainly fading as the race goes on, because he's lost over a second to the top 2. This, by the way, is only lap 4, and 11 minutes of the race remain. Of course, these cars lapping in the 2:21, 2:22 bracket, and it's a long lap. With just a 20-minute race, but they get 3 of them over the weekend, and it's game on again for the race lead. Ethan Jeff Hall now looking to make his move against Chase Fernandez for the race lead. Nose to tail they run up towards bomb hole, turn right. Up the curb goes Ethan Jeff Hall, but Chase Fernandez, who had a win earlier on in the season at Donington. He's been there or thereabouts, to use the phrase, pretty much all season. And right now, hanging on to that race lead as they come once more out of turn 12 up towards the timing line. Ethan Jeff Hall behind him in second place. And then Alfie Slater, having done such a good job in qualifying to get pole position, still struggling to stay with them. And behind, you'll just there see, is the remains of Henry Josselin's car after he drove into the pack. Front damage, and that's put him out of the race. Leaders go by. And the margin, a tenth of a second, that's all between the top two. But Ethan Jeff Hall, strangely, doesn't try to make a move on the inside going down towards Riches. Now, whether this is all part and parcel of waiting till the last moment to strike, I rather doubt. He's got half the race left yet, in which he could get into the lead and try and build a bit of a gap. Slater third, the last lap, about 3/10 slower than those ahead of him. So he's still falling away a little bit as they come now out of the Wilson hairpin. Fourth place, Charlie Hart. Fifth, Marcus Saeter, who's been a race winner this year. And then in sixth, Colin Cronin, new to Ginetta Juniors this season. So the top two come down towards Agostini, extending that advantage over the traffic. Chase Fernandez, even though his lead is a tiny one, has done the fastest lap of the race. Slater really needs those two to hold each other up by squabbling, and then he can join the party. But for the moment, it's just not happening for him. More battles further down the order. Number 11 at the back of that shot is the Australian driver Ruben Dan. Race leaders with lots of curb being used. Accelerate now up towards Williams and then onto Bentley Straight. 9 minutes of the race to go then. This lap 5. Number 90, Chase Fernandez, the race leader for R Racing. And then behind, Ethan Jeff Hall, who's done the bulk of the winning this year. 5 victories have gone his way. Can it be a 6th? He is close enough to attack, that's for sure. And as they come down towards the S's, the safety car deployed. Safety car is called. So the safety car is there on track, ready to pick up the race leader, Chase Fernandez. Now, is that because of debris on the road coming out of turn 12 where we had the Jocelyn incident, or has somebody else come to grief elsewhere? We know that Torin Burns' car is out of the race as well. We'd seen that with front damage, that had stopped, but I think it is this one of Henry Jocelyn that is needing to be moved. If anybody else goes off the racetrack down at turn 12, they could strike it. So Henry Jocelyn being encouraged to get back to the car and then be able to steer it away. It's a rather dejected walk back to the car, isn't it? The Preptech UK driver then gets into a car that's sort of looks worse than it is, really. The bodywork having been damaged, yes, but also popped up. So it's not that big, hopefully, a job to repair. But we do have the safety car on track, and just under 7 3/4 minutes of the race now, still to go. So another lap in the book, and all of these laps count within the 20 minutes for Chase Fernandez. The length of the lap, though, is such that it shouldn't be more than a lap, hopefully, to get the circuit clear. Then we can go racing once again. So the car's now up towards the Wilson hairpin. And that is Chase Fernandez, the race leader then, who turns out of the corner. Now, not only having to think about what's going on behind, but also how he's going to treat the restart. He was the youngest ever winner in the history of Ginetta to win the Ginetta Scholarship last year, the day after his 14th birthday. And Ginetta Junior rookie last season as well. He got 18 podiums last year and took 4 wins in last year's championship. So looking to move on to touring car racing in the future. But given what he did last year, in a way, it's a little bit of a surprise that he's only had the 1 win this year. The Fox Motorsport car of Colin Cronin with a decidedly dirty windscreen, proof that he's been involved in all the thick of the battles in the course of the race, and I suspect has been off the road as well, looking at the left front corner of the car, turning his way then now down through Agostini. Cronin in 6th place. So 6.5 minutes of the race to go. Usual format, when the lights go out, that's the indication that the safety car will peel in at the end of the lap and we'll be back in business. But as yet, that instruction has not been given from race control. So the cars now head towards Bentley Straight. This is 43 of Archie Clark, the Elite Motorsport car. He runs in that rookie class. So the safety car bunching them all up, which makes me think that it will come in this time, trying therefore to let it just be one safety car lap, and then we can get things back underway. One or two rather pensive teams are racing particularly, hoping that all goes well on the restart. So Chase Fernandez for the R Racing team up front. See the witness mark on the side of the car there of Archie Clark, another of the Elite Motorsport entries that's been roughed up along the way. Right, lights are still on. Safety car pace drops and now speeds up. It'll be in this time. So instruction given, safety car in this lap. Lights will be out and we'll be back racing as out of the S's comes Chase Fernandez. So the R Racing driver now has to work out how to control the restart, when he's going to accelerate, whether he goes early or whether he leaves it very, very late and tries to get the jump on Ethan Jeff Hall on the run up towards the line. Colin Cronin's very muddy windscreen you were looking through a moment ago. You can tell he's from a rally family, can't you? So up through Coram comes Chase Fernandez. 4.5 minutes just over of the race to go as the pace starts to quicken once more. The R Racing car leads the way. Ethan Jeff Hall has dropped a couple of lengths, look, hasn't he, behind him then? The second R Racing twin as they head up towards the timing line now. And then in third place, Aflie Slater, another R Racing driver. So it's going to be a 1-2-3, seemingly, for R Racing as they come across the line. Fourth is Charlie Hart, number 50, who's been given a lifeline here, really. He's got back onto terms with that leading trio as they go past the pits, down towards Riches. Just over 4 minutes of the race to go. So there's probably time for this lap and one more. And Slater on the back of Ethan Jeff Hall now looking to try to make the move as Charlie Hart gets a good run out of Riches, tries to squeeze up the inside. Slater doesn't give him much room, puts two wheels of Charlie Hart's car on the grass, and Charlie has to back out of that and slot back in behind for fourth place as they go through the hairpin, all of which has enabled Chase Fernandez to get the jump on the opposition a little bit. And he's pulled clear by a length, well, maybe two, heading into turn 3. Battle on for fifth place now, where you've got Marcus Saeter just ahead of Colin Cronin, and then also getting in that battle is James Shotton's Fox Motorsport car. Leaders down towards Agostini. Chase Fernandez up front, so the winner of the third of the 3 races at Donington, looking for a second win of the season. He comes into this only 4th in the championship, so he does need points this weekend. Others going very, very wide out of Agostini. The more you do that, the more hot water you find yourself in with race control. So the field wriggling its way through the infield there. Look, number 17 is James Shotton. He's got Clark behind him, and a big, big slide by Slater. Well caught, but he's lost his third place, look, because Charlie Hart's now gone past him. And there, also being forced out wide, number 67, Marcus Saeter. He's going to lose out as well, because now James Shotton, number 17, is up the inside. So also in 43, Archie Clark, he's gone by. That's all it takes. One mistake, and suddenly you get shuffled back in the queue. Clark looking good as the race wears on then, edging his way forward, 8th at the start of the lap, having started 12th on the grid. The brighter blue car, there it is, number 43 on the outside line. Look as they drop now down towards the S's. And on the inside line is 17 of James Shotton, but that's the outside line for the next part. So Clark will go through, and he does so. That should put him up into 7th place now. Clark goes by, gets the move done by Bombhole. Cronin's in the act as well. Grabs a gear, turn right now through Coram, fast right, and then drop down into turn 12 and up towards the final lap of the race, because there is now less than a lap time left in the race. The leaders will go by, and Chase Fernandez just up front. He's 2.9 miles away from a second win of the season, with Ethan Jeff Hall still chasing him. Charlie Hart good for the podium, 3rd, and then it's Slater 4th after that slide on the previous lap. In 5th place through is now Archie Clark, going nicely ahead of Colin Cronin, Marcus Saeter. James Shotton is 8th, and in 9th place now is Alfie Davis, number 74, ahead of Harry Moss in 28. Clark going defensive, looking the blue car, Cronin behind him, Saeter on the outside, and on the very outside is James Shotton, number 17, who's going to run out of road and finds the curb there. So that puts him back to the rear of the queue. Another big slide in the background. And getting going again after time lost, but the battles continue right the way to the very end of the race. As for the top 2, they are nose to tail here as they scrabble their way now up through Agostini. And for 5th place, this is the battle. So Colin Cronin on the back of Archie Clark. Comes out of Hamilton, up the curb, on towards Oggies, down a gear, turn sharp right, short straight, up towards Williams, and then onto Bentley straight. There's going to be possibly a bit of leaning there. Look, as number 31 gets to the inside line. Felix lives in, but Nickolas Ellis fends him off. Goes one way, goes the other. Door closed. Race leaders then heading towards the end of Bentley Straight on this last lap, and it is Chase Fernandez just about in charge now. It was under half a second when they came across the line, and Ethan Jeff Hall, strangely, not being able to do much about him at the moment, as there Clark goes through ahead of Cronin. Two rallying families go circuit racing, and behind Marcus Saeter just up ahead of James Shotton. Out of bomb hole they go, very, very wide, Harry Moss, but he gets away with that. Heading through Coram then, an effort made on the inside line by Saeter. He's got ahead of Cronin, and Shotton tries to go through as well, and he does go by. So it's Colin Cronin that gets shuffled back 2 places, as up to the checkered flag and a second win of the season comes Chase Fernandez, who's done a very good job of withstanding all of the pressure. Chase Fernandez wins for the second time this year across the line. He goes ahead of Ethan Jeff Hall, and then Charlie Hart back onto the podium. The man that's third in the championship from pole, 4th Alfie Slater, and then 5th Archie Clark, Marcus Saeter 6th, 7th Shotton, 8th Cronin, Moss was 9th, and in 10th place 74 of Alfie Davis. But Chase Fernandez taking the race win. 0.6 of a second is a modest margin. Joe Osborne as driver coach takes all the glory and the credit for all of that, but I think Chase Fernandez had quite a part to play. And for our racing, in the end, it was a 1-2-4. Because of Alfie Slater having his little moment that dropped him back in the pack. But Chase Fernandez, very, very happy about that, and understandably so, because it's been a long time, really, between wins. And when you come into a season with high hopes, having been a race winner, multiple race winner the year before, and it doesn't go your way, you start to question yourself. But that would have done a great deal of good for Chase Fernandez's confidence. And win number 2 of the season, with Ethan Jeff Hall winning the rookie class. So the race-winning cars make their way around the in-lap down towards the pit lane, and they will have 2 more races tomorrow. The first of them for the Ginetta Juniors will be at 10:05, and 3 o'clock will be the second outing tomorrow. But Chase Fernandez benefiting from the moment earlier on that cost Alfie Slater a bit of pace, and he ends up falling back into 4th place. Chase Fernandez then, the race winner for our racing. Teammate Ethan Jeff Hall 2nd, and Charlie Hart comes home for 3rd. Alfie Slater 4th from Archie Clark and Marcus Saeter. James Shotton, Colin Cronin, Harry Moss and Alfie Davis round out the top 10. 11th to Ruben down ahead of Isaac Phelps, and then Felix Livesey. From the back of the grid, Nickolas Ellis yo-yoed a bit, but was 14th over the line. Jack Robinson next ahead of Jude Peters. Tom Ingram Hill had a spin and was 17th. Holly Mile 18th, and then Tiso Mabunda and Ethan Carney rounding out the top 20. 21st was Mallory Mabunda from James Ellis, and we lost Henry Jocelyn after his accident at turn 12, and Torin Byrne with damage also dropped out on that lap. It was Alfie Slater who led away, and a good getaway by Chase Fernandez, putting him into 2nd spot as the cars accelerated down towards the 1st corner. For 3rd, it was Ethan Jeff Hall, Henry Jocelyn and Charlie Hart right there as well, as the cars sprinted their way up towards the Wilson hairpin. Lap 2, Slater seemed to lose momentum coming out of turn 1. Up the inside line for the lead went Chase Fernandez. Ethan Jeff Hall got 2nd, and that was going to be the way it stayed to the very end. There was nothing that Ethan Jeff Hall could do about the pace of Chase Fernandez. Torin Byrne with front damage would head to retirement. And Henry Jocelyn, having been off the road, then had further dramas at the end of the lap. Jude Peters was another one that got roughed up, demolishing the marker board, but he in turn brought it home to 16th place. This didn't help Slater's cause either when Jocelyn attacked him and turned himself around, but then, in his zealotry to get going again, drove straight out into the traffic. There was debris on the racetrack and a lot of damage done to the front of the car that triggered a safety car period, on the restart of which Chase Fernandez was unstoppable. He was able to get a good restart and pull away. Slater went toe-to-toe with Charlie Hart, but in the end it was Hart that would go through and snatch the last place on the podium. Ethan Jeff Hall maintaining his championship lead to be 2nd. This was the moment that did for Slater and put him down to 4th. But up front, unaffected by all of the drama. Chase Fernandez coming through to win Ginetta Junior Championship Race 1 of the weekend and a second victory of the season for him.